Most of the attention when it comes to property tax fiascos in our region has been focused on Jackson County, Missouri. That has led to the recall of Frank White, even though, of course, Frank will tell you it's because of the baseball and the football team. That's obviously not the case. But we know Johnson County has major issues as well when it comes to property tax issues. How about Wyandotte County? Yesterday, we talked to Tom Burrows. He's on the Unified Government Council. He's also running for mayor, and they've got their election coming up on August 5th. But something happened here in Wyandotte County with the Unified Government, and Dave Trabert with the Kansas Policy Institute is here to talk about it because what they did is they basically unfroze property taxes. They unfroze, and they are allowing potentially for a mill levy increase, which will lead to much higher property taxes around Wyandotte County. Dave, good morning. What happened in Wyandotte, and what do residents need to know about where this thing could go from here?
Well, good morning, Pete. First, I have to say I met a huge fan of yours this weekend at a wedding. So Mary Ellen Troush says hello. Now,
well, you tell her I said hi, Dave, when you bump into her next. That's very nice of you. I appreciate you sharing that, man.
I will do that. So some county officials have been telling, like we saw it at KCUR, they said that there's going to be a $3 million increase and that it would cost the owner of a $200,000 house about $144 a year. Well, that doesn't make sense because in order for a $3 million increase to be $144, you have to factor in the valuation change. And that would be an increase of at least 8% in order to come out to this increase. So what they're really talking about seems like a 20% property tax increase.
So you go from their claim that, hey, this mill increase is going to result in maybe another $200 in property taxes a year on a home worth $200,000. Your math is suggesting that the real number is about $800 a year. So how are they getting away with this gaslighting of the Wyandotte County resident?
No, I'm not saying the increase is $800. They said the increase is $144. Mm-hmm. But if a $3 million increase on a $200,000 house isn't that much, so there's another increase buried in there. I'm saying if the 144 is accurate, that really amounts to a 20% property tax increase because they're adding 3 mills on top of an increase created by a valuation change.
So what does that lead to monetarily speaking? How much money out of the average taxpayer's pocket are we talking about here?
Well, it depends. You know, if your valuation went up 8%, then it could be a 20% increase. If your valuation went up 15%, it's going to be more. I mean, because the 3 mills last year, the county had a 33, the mill rate was 33 and change. So if it's going up 3, that's 10% right there. Yeah. Now stack your valuation change on top of that and compound, and you're well above 20%.
Is there anything that residents can do at this point, or is it basically we got a done deal and now you got to look at this mayor's race and they've got an election coming up on August 5th?
Oh, no. Residents can stop it. The controversy now was to give notice to the county clerk of an intent to either hold revenue neutral, not increase tax, or exceed the revenue neutral rate. And that's what they did. They gave notice of an intent to exceed, and they may exceed up to 3 mills. Now, actually, they can do less. They can still go back to do nothing. They could vote to do. They kind of put a cap on it at 3 mills, but it could be a lot less if the public stands up and puts enough pressure on them. And what it comes down to is looking into their budget and finding ways to operate more efficiently. And they have plenty of opportunities to do that. We've covered that.
What are those things that you think that Wyandotte County and that unified government should be doing?
They have to. There's a great quote by Mitch Daniels, former Indiana governor, and he said, "Look, this place wasn't designed to be efficient, but that doesn't mean you can take a cleaver and just whack off a big chunk of fat. It's like a cow. The fat is marbled throughout the enterprise. So what county officials have to do, what the elected officials have to do, is instruct the county staff to go through the entire enterprise and find ways to reduce costs without cutting services. So you go back, you start by looking at what has increased much more than inflation. Well, inflation, like over the last few years, was about 20%, 25% maybe. Well, they have a lot of things increasing 30, 40, 80%. Go look at those things, start there, and figure out, why did it go up that much? Do we need to keep doing these things? You have to look at all your discretionary spending and say, what happens if we stop this? If it's purely discretionary, then it's not connected to delivering a service. The first question is, why are we doing it? I mean, there's a lot of things. Every government, every individual, every business chooses to do things they don't have to do.
You know, Dave, this is something, and Dave Trabert with the Kansas Policy Institute is here. We're seeing a major slowdown in the housing market. Prices are dropping in many areas of the country. And, you know, I think that people in charge right now, and listen, I like this administration, but I think they'll take credit for something they don't deserve credit for, because there's a lot at play here. You've got high interest rates to buy. You have current homeowners who have interest rates below 5%. You've got insurance costs skyrocketing. And you've got these property taxes that are rising all over the country at the city and the county levels. And that's where people are just getting crushed, Dave. I mean, if these counties and cities don't get their taxes under control, they're going to force, a large percentage of this country out of the idea of home ownership. I just think there's something so much bigger here that's got to be talked about and addressed, because these local governments have no ability to rein in their spending, it seems, whether they're governed by Democrats or Republicans in some cases.
Oh, of course. I mean, you're seeing it on a large scale at the state level, like in New York and California, where people are fleeing to states with lower taxes, like Texas and Tennessee and Florida. Even South Dakota, for goodness sakes, they're going to. So you got to remember that last year, the county commission said we're going to hold taxes flat, and staff was not happy. So the staff reaction is almost always, well, we're going to make them feel it. We're going to cut some services, or we're going to threaten to cut some services, instead of going back and saying, okay, let's figure out how we can do things a little bit more efficiently. And now here they come again. If we don't increase taxes, the sky will fall, murderers will run free, and houses will burn to the ground. Mm-hmm. They are not going back. And it comes down to the elected officials having the willpower to say, we will not approve a budget with a tax increase. Now, you show us how to do it without cutting any services, unless you say we don't need this service anymore. Put that in writing, and then we'll let you cut it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Dave, last thing, this Kansas governor's race gets crowded, more crowded by the day. Ty Masterson, the Senate president, jumping in over the weekend. They're all talking about property taxes and how to lower them, but the reality is the state portion of your property taxes is a very small percentage compared to your city, your state, your schools, things of that nature. Is there anything that you would want to see a future governor or one of these gubernatorial candidates really lean into and lobby for that would do something that would actually be substantial on this front versus just cutting state property taxes, which really isn't a big percentage of the overall bucket?
Absolutely. And while it's true, actually now the state portion of property tax for operating state government is zero. They got rid of the state piece. It's all now local government and schools. But there is a tremendous amount they can do about it because the state sets parameters on how they can say, for example, that we need a constitutional amendment that would limit the increase in taxable assessed valuation each year. Pick a number, 3%, 4%, even 5%. No more 25% valuation increases that impose automatic property tax increases. They could also say we're going to put a limit on the amount they can increase without a trigger like voter approval. So they could say you can raise your tax by up to, say, 4%, but if you want to go beyond that, you have to get voter approval, or it has to be subject to a protest petition, or it takes a supermajority vote, like 80% of the elected officials, or 100%. Those are the things they can do. And so what governors' candidates should be doing is saying those two things, or even one of those things, should be done, and I will sign it. We don't want candidates saying they'll support something because there's too much wiggle room in that. For a governor, you want to say, I support this and I will sign it.
That's what it. Dave Trabert.
Taxpayers have to ask the question, will you sign it?
Well done. Dave, great to have you here. I'm glad you're having good times at weddings around Kansas City, and we'll talk to you next week, my man.
All right. Thanks, Pete. Bye.
All right. There you go. That is Dave Trabert with the Kansas Policy Institute on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM.